You're about to hear the truth about special needs, Episode 2. Hey, thanks for joining us for this episode of The Truth About Special Needs. It's a podcast about families who have children with special needs.
Yes, and the truths therein.
Yes.
Because you didn't say truth, and that's
right.
part of the name.
Yeah, well, that's part of the whole thing about getting the real story, getting the gritty details, getting the facts, the peek behind the curtain. I'm Chris.
I am Esther.
And we are married, and we have 3 children, and one of those children...
Oh, we didn't even mention our third child last time.
I know.
These people
I
don't
thought about
even
that,
know.
But then you were on a roll, and I'm not going to interrupt you.
Man.
For, he's the third child. Once you've had 2,
it's like
a third...
3, really?
Is it even worth mentioning? I apologize, future Connor, if you're listening to this. We really do. We really do love you. You are a sweet boy.
So Connor is our third child.
Yes. So we have Hunter is our oldest, and he has a twin brother named Mason.
Yes.
And then Connor is the youngest. And Hunter is our child with special needs. He has cerebral palsy. He's mentally and physically disabled, and he's a very sweet boy.
Yep.
All
truths.
See, I told you we're going to be telling you the truth about special needs. So
yeah.
This is where it happens, right here. So our topic today is about terminology. What should you allow people to say?
I don't know if you have much control over that.
You were, the boss of other people.
Yes.
What terminology is acceptable to use around special needs families or in reference to children with special needs or people with disabilities? And, what are some phrases you should really shy away from? And
if any. Dun, dun,
if
dun.
any, which is an important point.
We might have a different viewpoint than a lot of other families.
We might.
With special needs kids.
Because we are anarchists.
Topic.
We're
rogues. We're not that.
We're not that.
We're
raging against the machine.
Can I say we?
You can say we.
Okay. We would like to present the idea that the whole terminology issue shouldn't exist.
Shouldn't be an issue.
Shouldn't be an issue. Let's make it a non-issue.
Most in our experience and observations, most sensitivity relating to...
So let's talk about first what the terminology issue is that we have seen. What is the issue that people have?
Well, it's just people don't know what to say when describing a child who has a disability.
Now, it's on both sides.
Yes.
There's an issue on the family with the special needs kid.
Mm-hmm.
There's an issue on that side. There's also an issue on families without.
Friends of those families. And actually the fact that you just said special needs kid, and it's a phrase we've used this episode and last episode, the phrase special needs children or special needs kids is in itself, I recently discovered, in question.
It's taboo.
It's taboo to some people.
Yeah.
I've actually recently, somebody posted on Facebook or something about how they didn't like that some organization had used the phrase special needs children.
Well, they don't want you to label their child as this is who they are.
Well, they don't want it to be special needs children. It has to be
want you to
children with special needs.
Right, because first and foremost, they're just a child.
Yes.
And secondarily, they have the special needs. Rather than the special needs becoming what? The foremost thing in their life.
Being their defining attribute. And I get that. I mean, I get that. That's, that's true. That's not what defines them. But it is a defining attribute. Anything that describes somebody is an attribute that you use to describe them. That's part of who they are.
Well, and there's a certain acceptance that needs to come when you're a parent of a special needs kid.
Yeah.
That this is now your kid. This is how your kid is.
Yeah.
And they may improve, they may not.
Yeah.
You may not want to think that, that they may never change, but it is what it is. And I think that's
to me, it's just a semantics
thing. It comes down to, yes, but I think it comes down to the acceptance level on the parent's part or the family or whatever.
I mean, that might be a little, I don't want to judge people for, in terms of like, I would want to say you haven't accepted the fact that you have a child with special needs.
Yes.
Or a special needs child. I just think, okay, don't be nitpicky. Don't care about.
Well, and here's the thing. People.
Whether it's special needs before children or children.
Yeah. And there's other
special needs.
People rarely.
Nobody's going to misunderstand you.
The people saying those terms rarely, so rarely have ill thoughts behind them.
Yeah. And
they're just saying, whatever. People aren't trying to make you feel like your kid's being labeled this thing or that thing. They're just saying whatever that maybe they've heard a special needs kid referred to as what? What are some of your other ones?
I don't know, differently abled.
Now.
Disabled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What special needs families have to realize, like us, is like exactly how we were before we had a special needs kid. We did not know a family with a special needs kid. So our scope of what is right and what is wrong to do was very limited.
Yeah.
We didn't know. What are you supposed to say? What are you not supposed to say?
Yeah.
And that's how most people are who aren't exposed to special needs children or adults.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I think the bottom line here is whatever they say when they're talking about your kid, first of all, consider what's their heart behind it. Because that's what's important, not the words they choose, not whether they say special needs kid versus child with special needs.
Don't say disabled, say differently abled.
Yeah.
Well, it's disabled.
Yeah, I mean, it is. They don't have the same abilities, so they're missing some of the abilities that the average kid has.
That's where I said the acceptance comes in. Like, can we just accept that, yes, they are disabled?
Yeah.
It's not a derogatory term. It's just the truth about special needs.
Ooh, I
threw that in.
Nice. Good job.
Yep.
Good job. Yeah, and part of the thing for me is like, okay, if the people who have special needs kids, pardon my terminology there, the people who have special needs kids are always trying to figure out the terminology, then definitely you should be lending that even more grace to people who don't have special needs kids when they're trying to, wrestle what's appropriate, what's politically correct terminology. And I think that's a large part of it is everybody's trying to figure out, well, what's politically correct? And the fact is, well, what's politically correct always changes. And to me personally, doesn't matter because I don't define my kid based on what's the popular socially acceptable.
Well, and I would rather talk about my kid than get into all these weird things about what should they be labeled. Yeah. Let's just talk about the actual person.
Yeah.
And when you spend so much time on all this terminology debate, it's like, I feel like that's almost making them not a real person. Like they're just a person. Let's just talk about them as a person. And if somebody, if somebody says something that you don't think is the right way to view your child, you know almost always that their heart behind it, they're not trying to be malicious to us or to anyone. They, most people only have the best interest for all the sweet little special needs children in the world.
Exactly.
So for anyone to be offended over the wrong use of terminology, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me.
And it's kind of something we've kind of just decided just kind of naturally, not even, it's not like we came to a decision, but we've just always kind of had that idea of, we want to be super open about it and super, inviting people to ask about it, because that's how you spread information.
You turn people away from feeling open about special needs people when you get
caught up in the
terminology. When you stop them, if they're going to try to address you in some way and they've said something wrong, and then you're like, oh, you said something wrong, well, then they're not going to feel like they can come to you and ask more or find out more or be interested. And I want people to be able to say whatever they want to say about ask whatever they want to ask, because it is unusual.
Yeah.
And I know people are offended when you say, oh, it's not, don't call my kid, don't say that your kid's normal.
Don't say my kid's different than your kid's normal.
My kid. Well, they are.
Yeah.
There's an average that's normal, and then there's, and we can say this openly. I know there's people who agree with what we're saying, but they don't have a special needs kid, so it would be inappropriate for them to say it. But we have a special needs kid, so we can say...
That's right.
We can say anything we want. No. But we can, we can say, listen, it's fine. You can say whatever you want, because what we care about is that people, love our kid and are curious. I'm totally fine with curiosity, questions. I've never run across anybody who was in the remotest way malicious or anything.
And
it's just curiosity.
Never malicious. I've known, indifference happens, and that's just common, and often that's because people just don't know how to talk or how to ask about it. So I think the more we can encourage people who do want to talk and do want to ask, I think definitely the better.
Well, but that's another thing, too, is we can't say, oh, because our kid is special needs, you should care about them so much and ask us so much about them. We're not saying that either. I don't think, we don't want extra treatment, and we don't want less.
Well, I want extra treatment. Hey, if I can get extra treatment, I'll take extra treatment.
No, it's just like, that's the whole thing. Like, you don't want, like... It's like, what would that be called? Like affirmative action for special needs.
Now you're getting political.
You have to like overly care about them because they're special needs. Yeah. It's not, we don't want that either. But
and so here's a couple other terms to throw out there. You mentioned disabled versus differently abled. And honestly, fine if you want to use that term, but the fact is it's not, in a lot of cases, it's not differently abled.
Right.
It's disabled, and that's and that's a correct term, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you shouldn't be in denial about the fact that this child might not have the same abilities that someone else has.
Well, because dis is such a negative.
Oh, it's negative, and we can't say anything that could possibly be construed as negative. Now here's another one that I chuckled at. Special needs, instead of saying special needs, because, you can't say needs. You can't say needs. Our child might depend on us for everything, but, you can't say needs. So I heard one the other day that was, my child has special powers.
Oh my gosh.
So wow. Basically your child's a superhero.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
That wouldn't be bad though. Yeah. A superhero for a kid.
Hey, might be a little difficult to keep in line, with the laser vision and stuff. Mm-hmm. But
that could come in handy.
I think our other son Mason sometimes thinks he has special powers because he's
maybe we
very
could refer to him in that way.
Obsessed with superheroes.
So I've never heard special powers.
It's a new one. I read it in a blog.
I'm not
or
sure what
something,
that would
and-
refer to.
Well, it's just instead of special needs, it's special powers. But it's just it kind
another
of goes
way
back to what you're saying about just okay, are you in denial about what's happening? Are you not?
Right. Well, it
willing
just comes
to
down to
accept that?
like let's just be in reality.
Yeah.
Okay, your kid doesn't have special powers.
Let's just
Okay,
face.
Let's be real.
Wait for it. Let's just face the truth
The
about special
truth
needs.
about special needs. Yeah, because they do not have special powers. Okay, just to clear that up for anybody who may have read that.
Okay, so
and
the flip
thought
side
was
of that
true.
is there are cases, there are plenty of examples of people who you could say they have special powers in the sense that, hear me out. Okay.
Okay, I'm making a face that's like, what?
No, I mean, there's plenty of examples of, there's children maybe with autism, but they have like,
Oh, they're like super smart in math. And
or
stuff.
or like, crazy good at other stuff like,
Right.
Or there's,
Well, maybe they do have special powers. Maybe they're onto something.
or maybe there's kids who have, some kind of mental disability or something, but are physically, athletic or vice versa. And, like Stephen Hawking, you could say he has special powers because he
does. He's magical.
considered the smartest man in the world. But, and, if that's the way you want to phrase it, that's fine. If that's,
The thing is, whatever you want to say is totally fine. If you
Right.
want to say your kid has special powers because you don't feel comfortable saying special needs, that's totally fine.
yeah.
But I think where the problem arises is when
We try to impose our
when you
terminology.
get offended because somebody else said something perfectly normal that we happen to think is offensive.
Like, are we going to just put together this dictionary of these are appropriate terms and these are inappropriate terms for referring to, children with
and to me,
disabilities?
I don't like that. I don't want people to feel like they can't be themselves and they can't say what comes naturally and they have to walk on eggshells around us. Because, I mean, that's already happening anyways.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact, that you have a special kid. That too, saying it's not special needs, it's just a special kid. Like, well, there are needs that are special.
There's
Let's
needs
face
there,
it.
and that's okay. That's okay that they have those needs. That's,
I just think
okay
that
you're the one who gets to
special
provide
needs
those
families
needs.
that are going to impose all of that on people, it just makes people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That it makes them feel nervous about what to say. Am I saying the wrong thing? Oh,
Right.
is she gonna, and I don't want that. I want people to feel comfortable. And I mean, I'm a grown adult. I can handle getting over it if somebody says something that maybe I feel is offensive. I don't need to make a big deal out of that.
Yeah.
Like I said before, let's move on with the conversation and actually talk about the kid or talk to the kid rather than focus on all that. I think it's just kind of a waste of time. There's better stuff we could all be doing with our time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is one, though,
So,
that we have to mention.
So I think this is probably the one that's kind of most frequently identified as an offensive term, and that's retarded.
Yeah. I don't personally feel offended. I've never had it happen where somebody to me has said that about my child.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I would be offended, but I don't think I would because it's true, for one. Medically, scientifically, the term is correct.
This is what we need to establish first and foremost is, it's become one of those things that's like taboo. But if you actually go back to the root of the word retarded, it simply means slow. It's a technical term. It's used when talking about.
It's a correct term for kids who are mentally disabled. Okay, because it does mean slow.
It's a technical term. It's a medical term. It was used medically
but the
popularly.
thing is that society and young people have now turned that into a word meaning like you're an idiot and you're stupid and we don't like you, and we don't want you
or
around.
Not even, I mean, it's become a term that's used, not even talking about people specifically, but, we'll say, oh, that's retarded. That happened,
and
or this is retarded.
I could go without that.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't get offended when I hear other people say it. But personally, I don't use it, and I'm going to teach my kids not to use it as a derogatory term. Because do we want it to be a derogatory term, or is it just, hey, your brother, he's mentally disabled, technically retarded. But do we want then Mason to think, oh yeah, haha, he's retarded, he's so dumb and stupid? Like, that's what that word means to kids.
Yeah, it has come to mean that. I kind of see it as people use it in situations where it's not accurate, and that's when it's used as a derogatory term. They'll use it to say, oh my gosh, my bus is late. Oh, that's so retarded. And they're using it in that way as a derogatory form, in a way that it doesn't really hold on to its meaning. And so I'd kind of compare it to, like, okay, boys teasing each other and saying, oh, you're such a girl, stop being such a girl. That's not to say that it's bad to be a girl, but because you're talking to someone who's not a girl, that's when it becomes a derogatory term. So if we compare that to using the term retarded, I'm not offended when people say, oh my gosh, that's so retarded. Right. It's just it's a term that's used.
Yeah.
And
I feel like it's...
And I think it goes back to the intent.
I feel like it's one that it does make the most sense to where I won't say it.
Yeah.
And I'm not really going to let our other kids say it. It doesn't, doesn't feel appropriate to take something that someone, has no control over and use it as a derogatory term.
Yeah.
Girl, I don't know if that would be, I don't think that would be taken with the same offense as this. It's a lot more of a sensitive issue. And as much as I think, people need to stop getting offended over everything.
Yeah.
I do kind of see this used in a derogatory term I don't like. I don't mind if someone, which I don't even know if people do that these days, if they actually say that a retarded child is retarded. I think that is too offensive, and I don't think people are really doing that anymore. But they're saying that when you do something stupid or when something bad happens, that's retarded.
Right.
And I would like the younger generation to disassociate the special needs kids with something stupid or something bad that happened.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying is, let's not freak out when somebody does say it.
Yeah.
But, let's not go around saying it, and let's teach our kids, not to say it.
So I think, the bottom line is, if you have special needs children, and you don't like the terminology someone's using, first and foremost, consider the heart behind it. Consider the way in which it was intended.
Yeah, that's the thing about that word, is they're not really using it in a good way.
And that was the flip side of that is, if you're not sure what terminology to use, pretty much don't use the word retarded, because it's
I don't think it's
going to be offensive in a lot of contexts. And it's better just to avoid that phrase completely.
Yeah, there's plenty of other words that you can use that actually mean what you mean, which is, this is so stupid, this is so lame, this is dumb, you're dumb, you're an idiot.
So are we giving people advice on how to throw insults now? Because I've got some good ones.
Oh, we have ideas.
Yo, mama's so fat. Should we go into that?
Yeah.
No.
There's a lot of, that's the point. There's a lot of things you can say, and just, I'm speaking on both sides of it here, because I think people should be way less offended and, move on with their life. But on the flip side, you also need to realize that this can be viewed as offensive. Yeah. And
we're super nice, and not everybody's as cool as we are. So...
Okay.
I'm kidding. No, but and maybe a good way to, break the ice, I guess, is if you're not sure, ask,
Yeah, that's true.
What?
That's a good idea. Just be like, what do you guys say? But see, again, all of those topics are so taboo. I mean, can I ask? What do I do? That's why I just love an open door policy. Like, just...
A lot of it gets really awkward if you try to have a conversation about it. And that's kind of one of our goals, is to kind of, let's remove that awkwardness
clear
here.
The air,
and let's just have an open, real conversation about this is the truth. This is what we're dealing with. This is reality. Let's live in it, and let's talk about it openly.
Yeah, it's blatantly obvious. You know when you see somebody whether they have brown hair or blonde hair.
Yeah.
You can't try to shy around the issue.
Yeah.
It is what it is. People are going to notice. I'm not going to walk around with a 4-year-old in a wheelchair and try to think, oh, nobody realizes that he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Look, everyone, I have a perfectly normal child.
Yeah. Or don't look at my child who's in a wheelchair.
Yeah. And it's like, no, that's where the acceptance comes in. We get it. We get that he's not like other kids.
Yeah. And your eyes are attracted to what's not commonplace.
And that's what I think the biggest thing is be fine with what your kid is.
Yeah.
And just be super cool.
Be super cool. Just be cool.
Just be cool.
Be excellent to each other, as
exactly.
Bill and Ted would say.
Yeah, because, we don't want to get offended when people do things, but we don't want to be offensive. So it's just a super cool balance of how awesome can you be?
Who can be the most awesome? Cool.
Who can be the most awesome?
Well, thank you all for listening to The Truth About Special Needs. We would like to hear from you. This is a somewhat controversial topic we've talked about today, and maybe you think we're just way off our rockers and need to be put in our place, and we'd love to hear from you.
Let us know how you feel, whether you like it or hate it.
You can send us an email at specialneedspodcast@icloud.com. Or you can visit us at specialneedspodcast.com and email us through there, or even leave us a voicemail and be heard on the show. And we've also got a Facebook fan page, so give us a like there and stay up to date.
So, and let us know if you have any other controversial topics that you would like us to discuss, because we love to discuss controversy.
Or what terminology do you prefer to use when talking about your child's disability?
Yep.
All right, we will catch you next week.
Bye, guys.